sold for meat. Human. Hold me. Use me. But get me out of here, she begged in tears. The neural interface crackled as Lieutenant Marcus Rivera accessed the distress beacon's final transmission. The voice that emerged from the speakers was barely human, digitally fragmented, desperate, pleading. It had taken his reconnaissance team 3 weeks to trace the signal across the Kepler 442 system, following breadcrumbs of encrypted data through the void. Analysis complete, Lieutenant, reported Specialist Emma Thorne, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The transmission originated from Facility 7 Alpha on the Moon's dark side. Corporate records show it as a biological processing center. Rivera's jaw tightened. In the year 2387, such facilities had become disturbingly common in the outer colonies, where corporate oversight was minimal and human rights were treated as luxury commodities. The Terran Coalition had been investigating disappearances for months. Entire settlements vanishing without trace, their populations seemingly evaporating into the colonial black market. The reconnaissance shuttle Prometheus touched down on the barren lunar surface with barely a whisper. Through the viewport, Rivera could see the facility's imposing structure, a maze of reinforced titanium and synthetic polymers designed to withstand both the harsh vacuum of space and prying eyes from orbital surveillance. Thermal scans indicate approximately 200 life signs inside, Thorne reported, her voice tight with controlled anger. Body temperatures are inconsistent with normal human physiology. They move through the facility's outer perimeter using military-grade cloaking tech. The corridors were sterile, lit by harsh bioluminescent strips that cast everything in an eerie blue glow. Rivera had seen industrial meat processing facilities during his training, but nothing had prepared him for this. The first chamber they encountered contained rows of suspension pods, each one filled with a translucent blue gel. Inside, Rivera could make out human forms, men, women, some barely adults. Tubes snaked from their bodies, monitoring vital signs, extracting cellular material, keeping them in a state between life and death. "My God," whispered Thorne, her scanner trembling in her hands. "They're harvesting them. Neural tissue, organ cultures, genetic material. The black market value would be astronomical," Rivera finished grimly. "Each person here represents millions of credits in biological resources." A weak tapping drew their attention to one of the pods. Inside, a young woman with auburn hair had somehow retained enough consciousness to recognize their presence. Her lips moved frantically behind the breathing apparatus, and Rivera activated his lip-reading software. The translation appeared on his visor: "Sold for meat, human, hold me, use me, but get me out of here." Rivera's training warred with his humanity. Protocol demanded they gather intelligence first, call for backup, follow proper channels. But the desperation in her eyes made such protocols feel like cruel abstractions. "How long to drain the pods?" he asked Thorne. "Each unit has emergency release protocols," she replied, already moving toward the control panels. "Give me 3 minutes." As the pods began their drainage cycles, Rivera accessed the facility's central database. Corporate records revealed the scope of the operation: 7 facilities across 3 systems, processing over 10,000 individuals annually. The victims were mostly colonists from failed settlements, refugees, anyone whose disappearance wouldn't trigger immediate investigation. Alarms began blaring as the first pods opened. Security forces would arrive within minutes. "Lieutenant," Thorne called out, supporting the auburn-haired woman as she emerged from her pod, weak but alive. "We can't save them all. Not today." Rivera looked at the remaining pods, at the hundreds of faces suspended in artificial sleep. Each one represented a life stolen, a future commodified. But they had enough evidence now to bring down the entire operation. "Set the charges," he ordered. "We'll make sure no one else gets processed here." As they evacuated with the survivors they could carry, Rivera transmitted everything to Coalition Command. The facility erupted in flames behind them, its sterile corridors finally consuming themselves. In the shuttle's med bay, the woman they'd first encountered gripped Rivera's hand with surprising strength. Her voice was hoarse but determined. "There are others. More facilities. Promise me you'll find them." Rivera squeezed her hand gently. "We promise." The stars stretched past the viewport as they jumped to hyperspace, carrying evidence that would spark the largest human rights investigation in colonial history.